So many of us learn late in life what high performers and successful people learn early. What are they? Well, here are 7 that can be life-changing in a good way. Stick around for the last one, as this might be the most important. Okay, so the first insight I wish I had known is feedback is your friend. Let's be clear. Almost no one likes to be criticized, whether it's constructive or mean-spirited. It's natural to avoid it. Yet, as we mature, we recognize the gift that feedback is. No comedian can refine their jokes without getting a reaction from the audience, be it laughter or silence. No professional can grow without feedback. We need feedback to grow. Immature people avoid it, while the more mature see its value. That doesn't mean they take all the feedback as truth, but once they sort through the BS from helpful, they act on it because they value personal growth. Okay, friends, let's move on to the next insight. Insight number 2, and that's candor with care is king. There's power in candor, and I'll bet you've seen it in action. Their no BS way of speaking and acting makes you trust them, and trust is the core of every relationship. Especially when candor is paired with empathy about your impact on others means that you carry less stress and become more powerful. A coaching client became more candid when she started to reflect her feelings to others without worrying about the reaction. You could hear her say things like, "I feel uncomfortable with your request. I want to think about it." Or she would say, "When you lean into me and raise your voice, I feel like you're trying to bully me," and so forth. She found that she felt more authentic and powerful. And she had less stress because her candor helped her process the emotions she used to carry. Okay, let's move to the next insight. Insight number 3, and that's when you can live with the worst case, you're free to create the best case. I needed the job I had, so I did whatever I thought was needed to keep it. I could not fathom what would happen if I lost my job, and the stress was killing me. With the help of a coach, he walked me into a scenario where, for no reason of my own, I lost my job. I was not too fond of the feeling, but once I realized I could find another job, I began to relax. And with a more relaxed approach to work, I started creating better results that were impossible before, and I was happier. I had dealt with my biggest fear, and I knew it wasn't the end of the world. By the way, years later, I got caught in a downsizing, and while it sucked, it wasn't the end of the world. Those with a fear of death find the same thing. When they have a near-death experience or deal with their fear, they free up energy to live more fully. So living with less fear opens up more possibilities in your life. Okay, friends, let's unwrap the next insight. Insight number 4, sharpen the saw. If that sounds like a page out of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it is. And it's advice that I managed to ignore at my peril. I had a demanding boss, and I had to say yes to keep my job, to the point where I was working the equivalent of 2 jobs. I also had a very demanding wife who really didn't understand my stress. She just wasn't feeling the attention she was used to. And I was part of a spiritual community that also demanded a lot of my time. Demand, demand, demand. Well, you can guess that I got burned out and eventually paid a physical, mental, and emotional price for neglecting my care. So, as I sat in the hospital after I nearly bled to death from a ruptured ulcer, I got real with myself, and then later with the job, spouse, and this church. I could only give so much, and I was neglecting time for me, my recovery time. So I renegotiated my role at work to be more in line with what others were doing. My spouse, she never understood and honestly fell deeper into resentment, and we eventually divorced. Saying no to my spiritual community was more complicated than I thought it would be, but I was motivated to change, and I wouldn't let them manipulate me. If you're wondering what personal boundaries have to do with sharpening the saw, it is the start of doing so. Reducing the demands opens up more time for you, for recovery. And once your boundary work opens up time for recovery, be smart about how you spend your time for renewal. What gives you joy? What inspires your heart? What has been proven to renew you? On the other hand, what have you learned about activities that really don't do that much for you? A client of mine used to surf the internet at night and admitted that this actually took more energy from him than it refueled him. So he changed, took walks in nature. That worked. He tried dancing lessons, which didn't work for him. It does for others. He tried other things to see if that really gave him or took energy, and discovered a love of the guitar piece. But you can see that a little awareness can keep you out of some traps and into renewal activities that recharge you. That brings us to the fifth insight I wish I had known, and that's move slowly and get to know your potential partner. Oh, the pain you'll experience if you move too quickly in a romantic or business relationship. Manipulators always rush you, while those who are good for you tend to move at a more relaxed pace. Oh, like most of you, I look in hindsight and say, well, yeah, of course. In my case, our family trauma continued to play out in our relationship. Or you might have looked past red flags that, with a little more time, you would have taken more seriously to have avoided the troubled relationship altogether. But the key is move slowly and get to know the potential partner, or you'll pay a price. Speaking of partners, let's unwrap the sixth insight, and that's build your network. So many times I was helped, mentored, and hired by people I had developed relationships with over time. Like planting seeds that one day bear fruit, your network will do so much good for you. So each day, find ways to invest in your network, and you'll reap the rewards. Okay, let's unwrap the seventh and final insight, and that is, you get what you give. I remember hearing this as a kid, that what you get in life is what you give. Every thought, every action eventually comes back in some way to bless or educate you. And honestly, as a child, I didn't really believe it. But I came to understand the wisdom in giving your best, wisest, most excellent action in all you do, and let the universe figure out how to repay you. And often it does. Quick example. In a sales job, I hated cold calling, but knew I needed to do it. And the first week of doing it was one of the worst in my life, and I was ready to quit by the end of it. But somehow, some way, I decided that I would do my best. I would put out into the universe my best effort, do what I could, and let go of the rest. Let the universe figure out the rest. So in this surrendered state, I did my cold calling. And the first day, nothing happened. But I knew I had done my part with excellence. Great. So the next day, I hit my cold calling targets again, and nothing happened. That's right. But I was doing my best. I was still in this surrendered state, doing what I could do with excellence and leaving the rest to the universe. Well, this continued until on day 5, I got 3 sales. Each sale brought me about a week's worth of wages, so I was impressed at the harvest. This was mind-blowing. It was weird and wonderful, but the point is, I was showing up and putting out my best effort in the process and letting go of the result. The same approach has worked well in so many other pursuits. So focus on what you can do, and focus on doing your process with excellence, and let the universe figure out the rest. And the harvest always comes. And let's say if it doesn't, or not when you want it to, you'll learn, you'll feel good about your effort. But my experience is eventually the results always come, and they will blow your mind. So put out the thoughts and actions that plant the seeds for a good harvest, and you'll reap the reward. Excellence free from fear is the funnest way to work that I know. And yes, it will yield results, but surrender to the universe and let it be what it will be. Okay, my friends, today I shared 7 insights I wish I had known earlier. Quick summary. Number 1, feedback is your friend, so stay open to it and grow. 2, candor with care is king. So speak truth in love. Speak what you believe to be true in a way that's helpful, not harmful. Number 3 was when you can live with the worst case, you're free to create the best case. So deal with your fears and you'll free up energy to create what you most want. Number 4, sharpen the saw. Thank you, Stephen Covey. You'll burn out if you can't say no or spend time renewing your mind and body. 5 was move slowly and get to know your partner. Relationships will either bless you or take a toll, so move slowly and get to know potential partners. 6 is build your network. Your personal professional network will pay big dividends when you grow it each day. And the 7th insight is you get what you give. So give your best and leave the rest to the universe. Thanks for joining us today at the Change Capability Institute, your partner in personal development.